Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Classroom to Boardroom. It's a podcast by Think Now Classroom, where we dive into the journey from education to professional success with leading experts from various fields. Today, we have the honor of speaking with someone truly inspiring, Beena Rai. She is the Chief Distinguished Scientist at TCS Research with an illustrious career in research and technology. She has led many breakthrough research initiatives, and I was fortunate to be part of one during my stint at TCS Research. So, welcome to the podcast, ma'am. We are so excited to have you with us today.
Thank you, Priya, and thanks for inviting me for this very interesting session. And I'm glad that I'll be able to share some of my experiences over the last 3 decades. So, over to you.
Okay, so let's start by talking about your educational and professional journey, ma'am. Tell us about yourself. Feel free to share any memorable experiences from your school or college that influenced your path into research and technology.
Yeah, so Priya, as you know, I come from a state called Uttar Pradesh in India. And when I was growing up as a child, women education was not so in the forefront. But my parents were really, you can say, visionary, and they sort of imparted the education to me. When I was in the school, I used to get fascinated with these colors looking at the chemistry lab. When I was in, you can say, in primary, and then I used to see the high school students doing the experiment, change of colors, gases coming out of it. So chemistry actually excited me. And that's how I chose to, in fact, pursue chemistry. In fact, I used to play a lot of pranks when I was in high school. I created this magic color. There is color of festival called Holi. And so if you mix ammonia and phenolphthalein, you get nice pink color. And after some time, the ammonia evaporates and color disappears. So I used to make such magic colors and threw on some of our classmates who were not science students, and they got really furious. And within no time, the white shirt becomes white again. So I loved chemistry, and that's how sort of I graduated in chemistry, pursued higher education, did PhD. And of course, after PhD, and I also had the unique way of pursuing PhD because I got married before doing PhD. I had my daughter born during my PhD. So I also had my personal life going on along with the PhD. And after finishing PhD, I was looking for the opportunity for a job. I landed in a company called Tata Consultancy Services. And this is in, you can say, mid-90s, when the, you can say, whole IT services, digital transformation was not really what it is today. And when I landed in TCS, which is primarily actually IT services company, I coming from a chemistry background, purely experimental PhD, it was kind of a challenge that what will you do in TCS? So it was a new journey of learning. If you call it may be a new PhD, because then I started doing something called molecular modeling, molecular simulation, that is purely computational in silico modeling of things and materials. So it was a steep learning curve, but that sort of changed the course of my professional journey. I have been fortunate to be part of TCS Research because TCS, as you know, is not a product company. It doesn't make its own product. For example, if it's, say, if I take a name of a company like a chemical company, they will be making certain products. So if you are doing a research, you will be only working in that area. But TCS services many business verticals. And that gave me the opportunity to work with many, many industries. I have been to mines. I have been in coal washeries. I have been to remotest part of India, like some mine, which is a Naxalite area. At the same time, I have worked with something sophisticated like building the digital twins of biological organs like skin. So it's a vast canvas, and I'm sure that no other research organization would have given me that opportunity. So I feel extremely proud as well as fortunate to get this opportunity to work in TCS Research. And right from the beginning, I love challenges. I'm the person who really gets bored very easily doing same thing again and again and again. And that is why probably TCS Research was the canvas which gave me the whole, you can say, horizon to paint. And when I reflect back almost 3 decades now, I feel I would not have done what I have done if it was not TCS. So I owe it to TCS actually.
That's it's really true. I mean, I would, even I was, if I was there for just 4 years, I would feel the same, that it kinds of gives you a variety of experiences which I feel you do not get at other places. You kind of like I was there for a very short time, and at a very beginning level, but still I could work on, I could ideate things, I could work in lab, I could work on modeling, I could also look at the deployment side of it. So it's like the whole product cycle that you get to experience in TCS. And no, thanks for sharing that, ma'am. It's very fascinating to hear how early experiences shape your career. And like you said, for somebody like you who likes challenges, I cannot think of a better uh, more suitable career path than research, because which is, that's something that's filled with challenges every day. So yeah. Uh, Moving on to future careers, as we know that industries are evolving so quickly. A decade back, jobs like AI engineer or EV scientist or sustainability consultant, these jobs weren't even there. So typically when parents of high school kids, basically when they think about potential careers, they only focus on very cliched professions. But that has to be changed, considering the dynamic nature of growth and development. So, in your view, what do you think will be the top three careers in the future? And how can our education system prepare students for careers that may not even exist today?
So as you rightly said, Priya, the technology space is evolving so fast. And now people talk about future of work and future of workforce. In fact, that is the leading area of, you can say, research and innovation, where people are thought leaders and top professors are looking at. If you look at our education system, we have make it in different compartments. It is always in silo. Somebody may be like I mentioned, chemistry, but I sort of blurred the boundary between chemistry and computer science. Same thing happens everywhere. So to start with, our education system has to first evolve. It cannot be like if you are a engineering student, you don't understand psychology or you don't study humanity. So that is where the lines are blurring. So if you talk about future career, it will be always at the interface of different disciplines. So the kids have to be given that kind of education right from the beginning. Second thing, the very good point you brought about, like ecosystem, sustainability, change of ecosystem around us, because we have to accept the fact that we as a human species are the most evolved species, but we live in this ecosystem. And if we take advances in technology, we have to also take care of the ecosystem around us. And that's the point, that if you don't understand, for example, biology, you may build a magnificent spacecraft, but in the process, you may be destroying some of the, you can say, ecosystem. So you have to understand what impact your research or innovation is going to have on the ecology. So second thing is, like, if you can look at the human species, we are the only species on this planet Earth which have the most evolved, you can say, cognizance. Like you have empathy, you have sort of this soft side of the human feelings, emotions, and the jobs which today can be mechanized will be taken over by machines. But the jobs which require this part of human, you can say, species to be used. For example, now a lot of countries where the population is aging, they don't have young people. There are, in fact, people needed to support, give them emotional support, give them physical support, which machine cannot do. You can train an AI agent to become Alexas of the world, but they lack that empathy. So imparting that kind of, you can say, sensitivity to kids today, those kind of jobs where creativity is needed, or for example even cooking, making food, which only humans are the only species on this planet earth who in fact transform their food. They don't eat as it is. Like you can transform the food, it is grown, it is cooked, it is eaten. Nobody else cooks the food, no other species. So those kind of skills, so those jobs are going to emerge. So right now, just giving part of you can say one discipline, you can have very deep education, it's not going to take you far. So the holistic, you can say, way of training people, skilling people is important. Second thing is, one cannot sort of just, it is not given that, okay, I learned computer science, I will remain a computer scientist all my life. That is not going to happen. So one has to keep learning because it's very fast evolving space. So these are the things probably one has to keep in future. So we have to start transforming our education system right from the beginning so that there is no mental block. I myself had a mental block, in fact, when I finished my master's, and I was, in fact, uh, I less than 21 years, yeah, I finished my master's, in fact. So I had a time period where I couldn't even apply for any job. So I started preparing for something called civil services or IAS exam. And when I was preparing for the exam, I was advised that you have to take some humanities subjects. And I had a big fear for history and geography in my school days. I cannot mug up things. I cannot, because I have very analytical mind. And when I was, all my career, when I studied, I never even made notes. I read some things one time, it just mental notes, and then I work on it. So people advise. I said, no, no, I cannot take history. I will fail. And I didn't take, in fact, I took chemistry and botany, my subjects. I did clear UPSC, and then I went for interview, but then my ranks were low. So, and later on, anyway, changed course and joined for PhD and became a scientist. So, that kind of mental block should not exist. And that will only happen when we have this overall, there's no boundary between subjects, and kids are allowed to choose whatever they want to do, not be compartmentalized in one discipline. So that is the most important thing, because the way things are merging, it is what, for example, even if you take EV, it is no mechanical engineers alone cannot build vehicles now. It is more of a software. Any car today is less of a mechanical device and more of a software driven machine. So this will happen. So that could be probably the thing which parents have to think about when they are trying to look at the career options for children.
Oh, that's so interesting. I mean, how you, I think, first of all, mentioned some, a hidden quality of humans, that, empathy. So jobs basically which involve empathy are going to rise. I think I really liked your idea on how all the jobs today, or all the work that we do today, is so interdisciplinary in nature. So although you will do a degree in something, but eventually you'll be working on something that involves all other disciplines, so you will have to kind of understand all those aspects. And I felt that, that is something uh, we are trying to incorporate in Think Now Classroom also, because what we realized was, if a student is studying physics, then he or she is like only studying physics, and when that person goes to study, say, chemistry, then that is stored in a different compartment, and then chemistry is stored in a different compartment. So there is whole, like, making silos and compartmentalization of knowledge that you just mentioned. So I think that could be a starting point for parents to help their kids prepare for the future careers that we are so unsure of, that what will be the top future careers. And how you mentioned that adaptability will be the key in future workforce. So speaking of adaptability, let's talk about life skills. What do you think are the top 3 life skills necessary to succeed in your profession today? So in this podcast, like, we are we have guests from different career paths, CXO, scientists. Then last time we had somebody working in the development sector. So we are trying to kind of enlighten parents on the skills that are important to nurture in their kids from early on.
Yeah, so if one is talking about research and innovation, the first thing I would say, any child who is born is curious by nature. And curiosity is something we should not kill. But as a parent, as the kid is growing, we start killing that curiosity. We certain things because we feel it may harm the kid, may hurt the kid, so we say don't do it. And that is where then we start killing the curiosity. And if you want to be a scientist, you should be curious. In fact, that's my motto. I say that if you want to succeed in research and innovation, you should be curious. You should ask questions. You should not be worried about failure. That's a second quality because you will not succeed. You will have 20 ideas. Means, you yourself have seen you had small stint at our research center. Not every idea you can see will reach to the multi-million dollar company. So you have to have risk of failure should not bother you. That's the second quality you should have. And third thing, as I mentioned, by nature, I had this. I accept challenges. I have many challenges have had in my life, and which I took on because it's always good to, in fact, take on the challenges rather than just avoid it. So research and innovation, definitely one has to have this kind of quality and also the mindset. One has to have open mindset because you have to accept that not one organization or one individual, whatever intellectual capacity and training and skill set you may have, research and innovation is always a teamwork. So one has to have an excellent, you can say, those soft skills of the human nature, uh, like how you can bring best out of people you have in your team. How can you have bring collective knowledge together? Uh, each person is unique, and this, as a parent, we should understand that every child is unique. He or she brings some capability, some skill set which we have to spot. We cannot sort of cast them in certain stereotypes. So if we keep that kind of open mind, then let the child grow and accept and sort of explore. So especially since I come from Indian background, both my children were actually brought up in India, and now I see my daughter bringing up her own son. My grandson is around 3.5 years old. There is a lot of difficulty in, you can say, society and country you live in, the way you bring up kids. In Indian context, parents are very controlling, and especially they are worried. They are very overprotective kind of parents, and that's where we kill curiosity. And that's the reason probably this research and innovation culture lacks in India. So I think as a society, if we transform that, especially both school, miseducators and the parents have to sort of consciously change the way we bring up young kids, then definitely we have no bound, you can say, limit is, uh, we can't limit ourselves as a country. And which is very different because now I live in US and I see when I look around in this society, not only my family, people around my neighbors, how the kids behave here. And I'm interacting with the top university here, students here, the students who are locals versus the students who have come from India, you can see the difference.
Right, right, right. Yeah, even like, yeah, I can totally understand. Even when I moved here, I could see like how, and when we met friends who basically grew up here, so how the parenting thing is different here, and how here there's a lot of focus on development of life skills uh, from the very early on. So that's completely right. And I really liked how you mentioned that in your career, like, so we all of course acknowledge that, soft skills like communication skills, teamwork, and those things are essential in a lot of professions. So that is definitely something that parents should look at. But I really like the point where you mentioned that the curiosity, which is something that's there with us inherent, that shouldn't be killed, and that is something very necessary for a career in research and innovation. So yeah, those are truly essential skills. And while we feel that technical expertise is important in a lot of ways, we also acknowledge that emotional intelligence plays a huge role too. So, in your experience, how important is emotional intelligence at a workplace or at home, and how do you think parents or schools can help nurture this in children?
Yes, definitely. As I was talking in the earlier also, that these are the like empathy, or you can say emotional, you can say part of our human species is the rare thing, which we, of course, there animals also show emotions, but not the way we have. For example, if you have a dog at home, you can feel the emotion because they also express. So we do have that rare quality with us, and we need a very strong ecosystem to keep our emotional side strong right from the kid is born. And so both parents as well as society have to, in fact, play a role in that. Uh, Unfortunately, especially country we come from, society has been very judgmental. And with globalization, it is changing, but yet there are stereotypes. Uh, that probably is the major, you can say, setback for emotional confidence or keeping your emotion intact. So we should not be very judgmental as a society, as a parent, as a school. Even in schools, now things are changing. But when we were, at least I was growing up as a kid in the classroom, every child had no way of even questioning the teacher. You can't argue with your educator in class, which is probably very different in Western society. And so this open communication, whether it's with your teacher or educator or with your parent, is the first thing. The child should have that confidence that he or she can have open communication with both the parents as well as the whatever ecosystem he or she is living in. And that is very much important to, in fact, bring that strong emotional side, or let them be individual with a very strong emotional support. So communication is the key. Quite often that lacks because the children don't have confidence, they don't share with parents. And sometimes we have to take extra efforts to give that confidence to children that yes, you can talk anything. A lot of efforts, I'm not saying that it's not happening. Educational system is changing. If you look at now, the way schools teach, the way they try to support each child is individual. Every child is special, unique. So you cannot, and every individual will have some unique quality. And we have to try to look at probably support that, appreciate that, rather than bringing out the flaws. Flaws may be many, but maybe one good quality which you should bring in to give that emotional support. Same goes in profession. Lot of efforts happens in corporate environment about bringing the diversity, bringing all kinds of support system. Ethics committees are there, but still, if you sit in a conference room, I have sat in many conference rooms where meetings are going on. There are people who can't even speak because the way they have been brought up. So this strong, you can say, expression of yourself has to be brought from very early in the childhood. And when he or she has been given that kind of confidence that you are unique and nothing can hold back you, then the individual grows up at any forum, be it in your professional work, be in your personal life, you will have a strong emotional support. So, in my opinion, this openness of communication, uh, assuring the person that you are unique, you have unique qualities. Don't worry about what is the stereotype, what is your other person is doing. I think that kind of confidence has to be brought in. And now with the current, when we live in digital era, another problem which is occurring now with the young children is basically getting immersed in whole virtual environment, keeping away from the reality. And that's where parents have to probably take extra effort to sort of go back to old traditions of living as a family. And now, not only kids to be blamed, even parents have changed because of this whole. See, one way it's good to have hybrid work environment. One way it's good to have sort of work from home, flexible work hour. But we should also realize that this also changing the way we used to live as a family. If you are now global worker, or you even the timelines are blurring. So the old days of sitting together, and if I may use the Hindi word, playing antaksharis when there is a summer vacation, everybody sitting on. I have done this with my parents and my siblings because we had, I would call it quote unquote leisure time. Now leisure time has become very qualitative, you can say quantitative in that sense that you have to sort of say that, okay, I'm going for a play date with my kid. We never thought about play dates. And there were always we were four of us, two brothers, one of my sister. We already had play date at home. So now becoming a nuclear family, single child in the family. So all those things are also impacting the emotional side of children. So we have to probably take extra effort to unlearn some of the things which are good for our productivity, our, you can say, society, globally, means humanity as a whole. But then there are certain things which are also we are losing. So we have to strike a balance. And I think then probably we will have more, you can say, emotionally strong adults coming out of this whole ecosystem.
That's a really important point. Uh, like you mentioned, uh, small things that we do at home as a family, or like small gestures that we do. That okay, what what you do and how you perform, everything is important, and you have your own qualities. So those small affirmations can bring such I would say big changes once you are, 20 years down the line, you are in your profession, and how, these small gestures at home could lead to such big changes. And, you rightly mentioned that uh, with the working landscape changing, with, both the parents starting to work, and, a lot of uh, good changes happening, there are some subtle changes that are happening in the family dynamics that we kind of do not acknowledge. And parents nowadays should consciously look at them, and then try to, like you said, unlearn the wrong things, and then maybe do it the more organic way, like we did when we were kids. So yeah. And speaking of challenges, let's dive into handling failures. So, like failure is often seen as a learning experience, especially for students. And how prevalent is something like failures in a student's journey? You appear for exams, competitions, this and that. So how do you handle failures at work? And if you would like to share any story or anecdote where you kind of overcame your fear of failure that actually shaped your career.
India National Chemical Laboratory for chemistry, that's the destination. And all my you can say, peers who were co-fellow students who were doing PhD along with me, uh, they all finished their PhD, applied for a postdoctoral fellowship, moved abroad. As I mentioned in the beginning, I started PhD post-marriage. I already had a young baby when I finished and wrote my thesis, defended my viva. I couldn't leave the country and go for a postdoc. So that was the most frustrating time of my professional career. I couldn't even change city because my husband was in a job, he was doing very well, and being a kind of job he was having, he couldn't move to any other location. I had to find a job in Pune, and I landed in TCS Research. Those days it was called Tata Research Development Design Center. As I mentioned, I was trained in experimental organic chemistry. I had already had a US patent. I was working on synthesis of drugs, and primarily my PhD was in pharmaceutical. When I landed in TCS Research, I had to unlearn whatever I had done, and I had a contract job, and for a year, and because the then director said that we want to just test how do you uh, player here, because it's very different environment, very different work. I didn't know anything about materials, mineral processing, words like fatigue, words like I had never heard of those things. And so it was a challenge. And challenge was that if I have to survive within this environment, I have to sort of learn new skills. Else, after a year, I finished whatever assignment was done, there was no work for me. And if I had to look for a long-term career in this organization, I had to do what is required by the organization and to start learning new technology. And those days, molecular simulations for materials, besides pharma, nobody else was doing in country. And I was thrown the challenge that, okay, if you want to survive, go figure out how will you do it. So I had to go figure out who in country does. Fortunately, NCL being the premier laboratory, there was a scientist, and Dr. Saurabh, Dr. Vetrival. I went there, sat with them, and then did many courses, as I mentioned. Whoever was a stalwart, have learned from Professor Ayappa at Bangalore. I was positioned 3 months. I sat in Bangalore, and then I sat with him and learned molecular simulation. So it was a challenge. There was a risk of failure because in my own organization, nobody knew what even M of molecular simulation. So I had no mentor. I had nobody to guide me. And it was frustrating because if I don't succeed, of course, I have to leave because I can't continue. At the same time, since I left my original, you can say, strength, which was pharmaceutical, I had a job offer from one of the leading pharma company in India, and but I had to move to Delhi, and I had already rejected the offer. So now the question was that if I don't succeed here, what happens? Because I have changed the field. Now I can't go back to because they won't take me. I have already invested 3-4 years here. So that was a big risk. And but with the determination, if you have appetite for learning, I could come. And it so happened that later on, in fact, I was invited by a leading publishing house to write a book on molecular simulation. So that I feel is the biggest achievement. Like you started something from zero and you reach to a level where people do consider that yes, you have made some contribution. So that I would say that this is how, if you have determination, if you have confidence in your ability, that yes, I can learn, and you are also open to failure, that and you also accept that yes, when I started talking to Vetrival or Professor Ayappa, I accepted that I don't know anything. I'm zero. Even though I may be a PhD postdoc, but I don't understand this domain. And I'm so if you remain open for criticism, failure, as well as you remain humble that yes, I don't know. Now also at this stage, the team I lead, there are many of my colleagues who are maybe a decades younger than me, but they are, I consider, because some of the areas they are far better than me intellectually, because I have not got training in that area, including you, Priya. So I always am open to learn from them as well. And I accept it. That okay, I don't know this. You know better than me. So collectively, probably we can do it. So that's the kind of mindset probably I had. And so I could succeed here. And this has happened, this is one starting point, but it has happened every time. For example, even digital skin solution which we built. I remember when I wrote the proposal and presented, people said, it's a crazy thing, you will never succeed. I said, fine, let's try out. Means there is no harm in trying. At least I will feel happy. Including my moving 2 years back to US at this stage of my career. Many people said that you are insane, that you are trying to go live in a alien country and unlearning many things which you have done in your life. For example, in India, when you live, you have a support system. You can have a chauffeur to drive your car. But when you come to US, you have to wash your own vessels, utensils as well. You have to cook your own food. So a lot of unlearning has to happen at this age. And many people said, no, it's not something and there is no need. Why you want to do it? But at the same time, risk of failure is there. Yes, you may not succeed. You may struggle. You may go back in a month. But I took upon myself because, as I mentioned, I love challenges. I get bored of same lifestyle or doing same thing. And probably
Yeah, that's really insightful. Like how things that looked like that they could lead to failures, and but in those moments you kind of accepted your flaws. You took a moment back, took a step back, and you kind of realized that, okay, I do not know this, and this is not something uh, that's my expertise. But you still kind of believed in that, whatever you will do, even if it's like starting from a very rudimentary level, you'll be like, you'll make it, you'll give your 100%, you'll be determined. So how, even things that that feel like, okay, they could be just failures, and they could not lead to anything big, actually made such a big change in your career path, where you were not just limited to uh, the the research work that you did in chemistry, in pharmaceutical, but you kind of expanded your horizon to like so much more. So that's really, I would say, an insightful story for any parent also, who where you know for the kids, they feel that this wouldn't lead to anything, but like, let the student try, let him or her has own way. So yeah, I mean, failure is definitely a stepping stone for many great successes. And now let's discuss something that's very often overlooked, and but this is very valuable: family conversations. And you already mentioned in one of your responses before. So we have, like you mentioned, we have often heard about the importance of dinner table conversations for emotional support. But how important do you think these discussions are for intellectual development? Like, how can parents create opportunities for their kids to discuss, what they learned in school? How is that related to things that they are doing in real life, and their opinions and things like that? And do you think that, like you were mentioning once during our informal conversation, that you happen to, talk to you like talking to people when you were out in the garden, in the society that you live. So do you think that parents do that typically, that dinner table conversations for their intellectual development?
so, Miss, yes, when we were growing, definitely, as I mentioned, because the society we were living was not the digital era we are living in currently. So, definitely by default, the dinner table conversations were the place where people used to sit together, talk about how the day has gone, what happened with you, what happened around you, and then have discussion, conversations, and everybody in the family coming from different backgrounds could exchange notes. And kids used to also get inspired, pick up the stories, talk about their things. But now, as I was talking earlier, with blurring of geographical boundaries, timelines, professional careers, because see, my mother, even though she was though trained teacher, she sort of quit her profession to bring up kids. It's not anymore because most of the time both the parents are working. So this whole effort of this has become now an effort. It is not by default that have sitting together for a dinner, instead of being a default mode of family sitting together and having dinner and talking about how the day has gone and then exchanging notes, learning from each other, an informal way of imparting knowledge is no more default because of the blurring geographical lines, timelines, career options. And now the time has come that parents, especially parents, have to take an effort to create this by design. And if I look around in the society, it is not happening because of many other commitments. So many times, like as I was talking to you informally earlier, I have encountered with young kids talking about that the parents don't have time for them. They want to talk. It may be a small thing they want to share. It has become more of a, you can say, the formal way of communicating. Even kids have to buy time with parents, which was never with our case when at least I was growing. Parents were always accessible. Now, if the child may be excited, something happens, and you are in a call, you say, no, no, I will talk later. And by the time the children, because they have very short memory, so that event or whatever in the excitement he or she wanted to share with you is already gone. So you miss that. And that sort of also takes that, because the kids, when they are growing, they have very impressionable mind. So that also sort of puts their into their kind of mind that it's not okay to ask questions or to share things. And that's how when they grow up as adult, they lack that confidence of communication, speaking in the meetings, talking about things in the classrooms. So that openness of communication, which I talked about earlier, uh, actually is missed. So parents have to sort of have made, and certain families, in fact, there are also parents who are setting example, who are creating these rules that no phone on the dinner table, no television in the dining room, at least one meal we have to sit together and share, and share our experiences, how the day has gone, discuss about it. Could be anything, any topic, any event which happened in and around your locality, in the society, globally. A lot of things can be talked about. And I think that is something which we have to now sort of consciously do it, which was actually a routine. It was given, but it's not given anymore. And so parents have to probably do that effort to do so. And we should keep in that mind that small things are very important to children. We may not be considering that important. Could be silly things, silly anecdote, but you should give importance, because for him or her, it is very important. For us, may not be. So it's okay to provide all kinds of physical comfort, but the emotional comfort for a kid only comes when he or she has this confidence that he or she can tell anything to their parent. So that emotional confidence or emotional support or emotional ecosystem we have to provide. And inner stable conversation is the one such tool which we should not forget. We should definitely make it an habit. In my home, it continues to be an habit that we at least sit together, eat. Even if somebody is late from the meeting, we wait. We all will have to eat together. You are late from the office, come home. At least the dinner time. Morning breakfast, if you can do, great, but sometimes not. But at least one meal. And a lot of things we talk. Many things, in fact, many ideas like we have shared over the meal and talked about. And I'm sure it has rubbed on my kids, and probably they have picked up some good things from there. So, and we have also learned a lot from there. For example, they belong to, my son now is like in 20s. He belongs to the Gen Z kind of thing. With a lot of things I learned about Gen Z through him. And he is totally open to talk to me what's going on in those communities. Because for me, it's like alien. I coming from two generation behind. So Gen Z, what language they speak, how they feel, what is important to them, I only learn through him. So as a parent also we have to set aside our ego. That's another thing. If you set aside your ego, you treat both child and parent should be on equal footing when you want to have a meaningful dinner conversation. It should not be always like passing the sermons kind of thing, which doesn't help. So that's my experience actually.
Yeah, it's really insightful. I mean, for fostering an open environment at home, and like while we were talking to some parents, while we were kind of formulating our course, we also realized that a lot of kids come home and they discuss about, like, not just the events that they like, some important events that happened in school or in the playground. They sometimes also like to discuss what they learned in school. So uh, I mean, any discussion that they can have at home, I feel they cannot have at school, because like the school can be very good in anything, but there is always a certain teacher to student ratio, which kind of gives a very limited time to one student to kind of do a two-way communication or a two-way discussion on anything that he or she wants. So I feel only parents or only the home environment can be conducive for that kind of communication, where okay, the kid says something, then you ask some question, then they tell you something else, and then there is like whole discussion on something. So that's something that's only possible at home. So yeah, that's why dinner table conversations are very important. And now, switching gears a bit here, let's discuss something that you are involved in, you have been involved in for so many decades. So let's discuss the research mindset. So like when I was also in TCS, when I was in masters in the research field, I always like learned that only a small percentage of students pursue higher studies in technology and research. So like we always used to discuss with our colleagues and friends, is this because many students do not fully understand what research entails? And because at least for us as kids, or even when we were doing our bachelors, uh, becoming a scientist or doing research was not really popular among a lot of kids, to be honest. And so we used to think, why is that? So is it students do not fully understand what it entails, or what is that reason? And how can we encourage that research mindset in students from an early age, that okay, uh, becoming a scientist or becoming research is not like it's just the typical image that people have, a lot of studying and a lot of books.
That is true because the research always is considered as a hard career option because it's a long, you can say, incubation period till you become, till succeed in research. And that's probably the biggest bottleneck in young minds that when they look at. But if you look at the Indian context, there are very few role models to also look at. Not very many people have opted for research careers. So when you look commonly around you in your society, you don't see many people. So you still feel that it's a very alien profession. So that is one thing. And that is because, primarily, if you talk about Indian context, the education system, as I mentioned, the killing of curiosity is the first thing that you are killing a research mindset. So the way our education system has been that, okay, it's a rote system, basically. It's a basically, now, of course, people are even getting more than 100% percentile kind of thing. So it's a marks-based system. You have to learn something and then reproduce it instead of continuous learning. It is the way you would succeed in educational career or educational journey in India. And that is not conducive for research, not at all. So that is probably where we have to sort of change. And also there's a very standard pattern because unless until you have a higher degree, you can't be a researcher. That is another. And also, as you know, PhD 6 years, 7 years, people don't want to invest because there is a pressure. Everybody, and also in the current environment, people look into becoming successful very fast because there is a whole ecosystem of this unicorns coming up. But if you look at research is not only PhD. Even if you aim to become a unicorn, that calls for research and innovation. That's primarily that you have a innovative, unique idea which you took and then took and made it a success. So research is not only doing a PhD or postdoc. Eh, Even if you want to run a successful business, even if you look at the guy who is creating a cart and selling vegetables, there is innovation. So this innovation mindset has to be encouraged and to be sort of communicated. The research is not only doing PhD and postdoc or research and innovation. You need innovation in each and every step of your life or career or professional journey. And when that oh, is actually communicated, then you don't see pursuing PhD as a big hurdle. Right now, it is just created a kind of, you can say, a different clan that, okay, you have to spend 7 years, do PhD, postdoc. No, 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 I'm not going to do. Rather, I'll finish my undergrad and I will sort of have a cushioned, comfortable job. So that is the one thing. Then research is always risk of failure, as I mentioned in the beginning. So if you have that aversion to risk, as a society, that's what when kids are growing, every means I have heard also even my parents saying 10th 12th में अच्छा कर लो career बन जाएगा एक बार इंजीनियरिंग में एडमिशन हाँ अभी आगे अच्छा चलेगा so that is why is the final game of education is to earn money final goal sorry of edu and that is what in at least Indian context it is not never said that it is for your betterment or what you want to be you have to earn money so you attain education that mindset has to change. People will be then free to explore. Right now, that freedom of exploration is not there, and that is required for research mindset. Parents have to bring that in the kids' mind. At least, after coming to this society, closely observing people, I have seen many bright students taking just 1 year break, and they say, "I want to go explore world." They just travel and no parent has any objection. But can you tell me, even in India now, also any parent would allow? No. And then, in fact, I was 2 days back when I was in conference, I was speaking. The keynote speaker, plenary speaker there, she narrated the story. And she said, I just took 1 year break and went to New Zealand, Australia, and finally I found that, okay, I want to do PhD in that space. And she enrolled in New Zealand, left the top university in US, finished PhD from there. She is one of the top government official regulatory here in US now. So that kind of freedom we don't allow. That, okay, take 1 year break, go explore the world. No. And explore the world means we don't even financially support. In the US, nobody supports. The kid is on their own. They do it. So that societal change, I emphasize on that pride, we are very judgmental society. That judgmental society nature has to change. If we want India to flourish as a research and innovation community, we do have intellectual power. It's not that we don't have. I mean, same people, when they move to different ecosystem, like you have also moved, they do far better. Means if you look at top CEOs of top companies, they are all Indian origin people here in US. So the ecosystem play is very important for research culture. And I hope that we are moving in right direction now. And certainly we'll see many more researchers, scientists kids opting for such careers. I think it will happen. Means I am positive.
Right. Yeah, you rightly mentioned that, it's not to be looked as like courses, like PhD or masters, but more like a mindset that, okay, this is uh, the crux is to you know come up with new ideas, or solve an unsolved problem, or from scratch just bring out ideas and make something. So it's really the mindset, and not really a course, and a mindset which anybody at any age and any setting can apply. So yeah, that's truly right. And somehow, like, when I also went for my masters, and I had, like, my classmates from different cities and different schools, a lot of people like felt that this the research mindset where you have to think on your own that what could be the problem here, what could be the solution. This is something that we were never trained for, like not at school, not at home. So if we had at least that mindset, things would have been a little bit easier. And in fact, I would say not just in masters, even during my stint at TCS, and even after that, I have seen people around me um, who are in the research field, but still they lack that ability of identifying problems that you could solve, identifying research opportunities, and coming up with very basic ideas. So that is something that can be developed from early on. And yeah, encouraging students to think like researchers is very important. So let's switch to our fun rapid fire round now. I would read a question, and then you have to give quick answers to these fun questions. I mean, quick answers do not have to be 1 or 2 words, because even our questions are not like that. And of course, not as fun as rapid fire on Coffee with Karam, but yeah, we'll keep it fun for our audience. And so, yeah, there are 3 questions. And good part, you do not have a competitor like you have in Coffee with Karan. So you are the one who will be getting the hamper, definitely. So yeah, let me throw the first question at you. One piece of advice for parents or students about learning success.
Every child is unique. Treat him or her as the unique person. Try to bring about the whatever is one best quality he or she may have, besides having 100 bad qualities. That's it. Be positive. Rest will follow.
Amazing. Uh, if you could redesign the education system, what's the first change you'd make?
Yes, I would change it from this learning and then assessing it, that you just learn the concept and assess it, rather than learn the concept and use it. And a more hands-on experience will be the best thing to do in our education system, rather than the just marks about it.
Right, rightly said. Any challenges that you faced in your school or college life? Any fun anecdote, and how did you tackle them?
Yes, so I was a very shy kid, and then the I miss now I can speak. And in fact, my failure of civil services exam was that I couldn't do very well in the interview. That was the first interview in my life I faced, that is UPSC, and I was not very good communicator. So the school days, to in fact overcome that challenge, I got into dramatics, and then I used to do a lot of plays. So one funny thing is, like, very early, I was in fifth or sixth standard, and then in that play, my role was to depict a mentally disturbed woman. And so my teacher, the way she had designed the play, and then she I had the whole get up and all, and I was sitting with the back in the audience. Nobody noticed. And when my role came, I started coming from the audience and then behaving like a mad person. And probably I was good and in acting. And all the kids got really scared. And the teachers who were not aware that I am playing the role, in fact, they called the security guard to throw me out. And then only when, by the time I had only reached the stage and started sort of giving my dialogues, and also then people realized I got the first prize for that. It was like fancy dress competition kind of thing. And I used to win many trophies for this debates. Uh, so this fear of communication, I tried to overcome by participating in those things, especially consciously, because I knew that till date, in fact, a lot of professional training has now made me what I am today, but still I am very hesitant to start the conversation. And I feel that's the weakness I carry in the
That's
stage.
definitely not visible. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, that was lovely and so much fun. So yeah, we just had 3 questions in the rapid fire round, and now that we have reached the end of our podcast, thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your incredible insight with us today. Your thoughts on careers and essential skills, and I think I did not even think that we'll go so much into details of the family aspect of the whole child development, but you like carried it forward in a very inspiring way. So thank you for that. And for our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Classroom to Boardroom. Be sure to check out our website for more education solutions, and stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, just keep learning and stay curious. Thank you.
Thank you.